The rain came down like 1,000 whispered regrets. Cold, unforgiving. The kind of rain that soaked through cloth and skin and settled somewhere deep in your bones where even fire couldn't reach. Larry Holloway knelt in the mud, her knees sinking into earth that hadn't yet settled, and she didn't care that her jeans were ruined or that her hair clung to her face like wet ropes. She clutched a bouquet of pink roses, tired, bent, bruised, just like her. The gravestone in front of her was small, too small. Giminjun, Minjun, 2018, 2025. 7 years. That's all she got. 7 years of laughter that sounded like wind chimes. 7 years of bedtime stories and scraped knees and sticky hands reaching for hers in the dark. And now there was only stone. Cold, silent, unforgiving. "I'm sorry, baby," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of words she'd said 100 times before. "I'm so sorry." Her fingers traced the carved letters, and for a moment she let herself believe he could still feel her touch, that somewhere, somehow, he knew she was here. But the dead don't answer. They just wait. Behind her, standing perfectly still beneath the shadow of a mausoleum, was a man most people only heard about in rumors. Jung-ho Park, the Wraith of Busan. He wore a dark, tailored suit that rain couldn't wash the danger from, and his eyes, sharp, cold, calculating, were locked on the woman kneeling in the mud. He'd come to this graveyard expecting answers. A missing child, a hidden bloodline, a traitor's secret buried somewhere in the mess of a syndicate war that had already claimed too many lives. He did not expect to find a mother. He did not expect the child to be dead, and he did not expect the truth he was about to uncover. Jung-ho moved closer, his footsteps silent despite the rain, and when he spoke, his voice cut through the storm like a blade. "How did he get that name?" Larry froze. She didn't turn, didn't flinch. Life had trained her not to. "You always stare at grieving mothers," she murmured. "Or is today special?" Her voice wasn't angry, just exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that came from surviving too many battles you never asked to fight. Jung-ho didn't waste time with sympathy. He stepped closer, his shadow falling over the gravestone. "How did a poor black woman in Willowbrook give her son a Korean name?" he asked again, quieter this time. "A name most Americans can't even pronounce." Larry's shoulders stiffened, her breath hitched. She turned slowly, rain dripping from her chin, and for the first time she looked at him, really looked, and something in her chest twisted, because she didn't see a stranger. She saw a man who looked like he had stepped out of a nightmare her son used to whisper about. The same sharp eyes, the same cold stillness, the same presence that pressed against you like a storm you couldn't outrun. "It sounded pretty," she lied. "That's all." Jung-ho's jaw tightened. He'd made a career of detecting lies so subtle they barely touched the air. And this one? This one was paper thin. He crouched down beside her, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're in danger," he said quietly. Larry's breath caught. "From who?" Jung-ho glanced over his shoulder, toward the far edge of the cemetery where a black sedan sat idling in the rain. Its engine hummed low and threatening, like a predator waiting for the right moment. "From everyone," he said. And that was when Larry realized this wasn't just a visit. This was a warning. The rain fell harder. The sedan's headlights flickered once, twice. Jung-ho stood, his hand sliding toward his jacket. "We need to leave," he said. "Now." But Larry didn't move. She looked down at the gravestone, at the name carved into stone, and whispered one last apology. Because deep down she knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Jong Ho didn't offer his hand. Men like him didn't offer comfort. They offered survival. Larry rose slowly, her legs shaking beneath her, and for the first time in 7 years, she felt the weight of something bigger than grief pressing down on her chest. Fear. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Someone who needs answers," Jong Ho replied. He nodded toward the gravestone. "And you're the only one who can give them." Larry shook her head. "I don't know anything. I'm just a—" "Mother," Jong Ho finished. "I know. That's what makes this worse." He pulled a photograph from his jacket, crumpled, worn, stained with something that might have been blood, and held it up. The boy in the picture was maybe 2 years old, wrapped in a blanket, his eyes wide and bright. Larry's breath stopped. Her knees almost gave out. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. "From a man who died trying to protect him," Jong Ho said. "A man named June." The name meant nothing to her. She shook her head. "I don't know anyone named June." Jong Ho studied her face, every flicker, every twitch, every micro-expression that might betray a lie. He found none, and that terrified him. "You adopted that boy," Jong Ho said slowly. "Where did you find him?" Larry's lips trembled. "Behind a Korean market. 6 years ago. He was alone, abandoned. I called social services. I waited. No one came. The paperwork got lost. And her voice cracked. "I couldn't just leave him." Jong Ho's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. A flicker of something almost human. "You weren't supposed to have known that name," he said quietly. Larry stared at him. "What are you talking about?" Jong Ho stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Minjun? That name belongs to a boy who was supposed to disappear. A boy whose father stole something that could start a war. A boy who was never supposed to survive." Larry felt the ground tilt beneath her. "You're lying." "I wish I was," Jong Ho said. The sedan's engine revved. Once, twice, a warning. Jong Ho grabbed Larry's wrist, not rough, but firm, and pulled her toward the far gate. "We're leaving. Now!" But Larry yanked her arm free. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then you'll die here," Jong Ho said flatly. "And whatever your son died protecting will die with you." Larry froze. Her chest heaved. Her mind raced. "My son didn't protect anything," she whispered. "He was just a baby." Jong Ho's eyes darkened. "No," he said. "He was a target." 6 years earlier, the night shift at the Korean market was supposed to be easy. Mop the floors, wipe down the counters, lock up, go home. But nothing in Larry's life had ever been easy. She'd been scrubbing the back alley behind the store, a place that smelled like rotten produce and broken dreams, when she heard it. A cry. Soft. Weak. Almost human. At first, she thought it was a cat. But when she turned the corner, flashlight trembling in her hand, she saw him. A baby, wrapped in a thin blanket, left beside a dumpster like trash. Larry's breath caught. Her hands shook. She dropped to her knees, her fingers brushing against the baby's face. He was cold. Too cold. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, who would—" The baby's eyes opened. Dark, bright, alive. And in that moment, Larry made a choice. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't call the police first. She wrapped the baby in her jacket, held him close, and ran. She called social services from a payphone 3 blocks away. Told them everything. Begged them to come. They said they would. They never did. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months, and somewhere along the way, Larray stopped expecting anyone to come for him, because he wasn't theirs anymore. He was hers. She named him Min-jun because the name was written on a scrap of paper tucked inside the blanket. She didn't know what it meant, didn't know who had written it, but it felt right. And for 6 years, she loved that boy like he was her own blood. But someone had been watching, even then. Someone who knew exactly where that baby came from and why he had to disappear. Jong-ho Park didn't believe in coincidences. He'd spent 15 years in the underworld learning that nothing happened by accident. Every betrayal, every death, every missing child, they were all pieces of a puzzle someone else had designed. And Min-jun? He was the missing piece. Jong-ho had been ordered to find the boy 3 months ago. The syndicate believed he was alive, believed his father, June, the traitor, had hidden something inside the boy. A code, a location, a key to billions in stolen assets. But Jong-ho had his own reasons for searching, because 15 years ago June had been his closest friend, his brother, the only man in the syndicate who'd ever shown him loyalty without expecting blood in return. And when June had tried to leave, when he'd tried to take his wife and newborn son and disappear into a life that didn't involve death and darkness, the syndicate had made an example of him. They'd killed his wife, burned down his home, and taken his son. Or so they thought. Jong-ho stood in the rain, staring at the photograph in his hand. And for the first time in 15 years, he felt something he thought had died long ago. Regret. Because if Min-jun was dead, then June's sacrifice had been for nothing. And if Larray was telling the truth, if she really didn't know who the boy's father was, then she was about to become collateral damage in a war she never asked to fight. Jong-ho's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You found her. Good. Bring her to us." Jong-ho deleted the message. He didn't reply, because he'd already made his choice. He wasn't bringing Larray anywhere. Larray's voice trembled as she spoke. "It was a Tuesday night, raining, just like this." Jong-ho listened in silence, his eyes never leaving hers. "Min-jun wanted ice cream," she continued. "I told him no, told him it was too late. But he begged. And her voice broke. "I gave in." She wiped her face, though whether it was rain or tears, she couldn't tell anymore. "We were walking home. He was holding my hand, singing some song he'd learned at school. And then—" She stopped, swallowed. "Then I heard the engine." Jong-ho's jaw tightened. "What kind of car?" "Black SUV," Larray whispered. "Tinted windows. No plates." "Did you see the driver?" Larray shook her head. "It happened so fast. 1 second Min-jun was beside me. The next he was—" Her voice shattered. "He was gone." Jong-ho didn't speak. He didn't need to. He'd heard this story before. Different names, different cities, same ending. "The police called it an accident," Larray said bitterly. "Said the driver probably panicked. Said they'd investigate. But the case was closed in 2 weeks." Jong-ho pulled out his phone, typed something, waited. A moment later, his screen lit up with files, police reports, witness statements, photos. "The case was closed because someone made it close," Jong-ho said quietly. "Someone with enough power to erase evidence, enough money to buy silence." Larray stared at him. "Why would anyone want to hurt a little boy?" Jong-ho met her eyes. "Because they thought he still carried something." "Carried what?" "A secret," Jong-ho said. "One his father died trying to protect." Jong-ho handed Larray his phone. On the screen was a photograph of a man, Korean, mid-30s, handsome, but his eyes carried the kind of weariness that came from running too long without rest. His name was Jun, Jong-ho said. He was part of the syndicate, one of the best operatives we had, but he wanted out. Larry studied the photo. I've never seen him before. You wouldn't have, Jong-ho replied. He disappeared before Min-jun was born. Took something valuable with him, something the syndicate has been searching for ever since. What did he take? Names, Jong-ho said. Bank accounts, evidence. Enough to bring down half the criminal organizations in East Asia. Larry's hands shook. And you think he gave it to Min-jun? Not directly, Jong-ho said. But Jun was smart. He knew the syndicate would hunt him. Knew they'd kill him eventually. So he hid the information somewhere no one would think to look. In his son, Larry whispered. Jong-ho nodded. We think he embedded a code, a pattern, something only someone who knew what to look for could find. Larry felt sick. Min-jun was just a baby. That's what made him the perfect hiding place, Jong-ho said quietly. The rain fell harder. The sedan's headlights flickered again. Jong-ho stepped closer, his voice urgent. They think you might have it. Whatever Jun hid. They think Min-jun told you, showed you, left you something. He didn't, Larry said desperately. He was just a little boy. I believe you, Jong-ho said. But they won't. The sedan's doors opened. 3 men stepped out, silhouettes against the rain. Jong-ho's hand moved to his jacket. We're leaving. Now. The men didn't rush. They didn't shout. They just walked, slow, deliberate, like predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Jong-ho grabbed Larry's arm and pulled her toward the far gate. Move. I can't just... You can, Jong-ho said sharply. Or you can die. Choose. Larry ran. Her legs felt like lead, her lungs burning as she stumbled through the mud. Jong-ho stayed close, his hand on her back, guiding her through rows of graves and crumbling headstones. Behind them, the men split up, flanking, surrounding. Jong-ho cursed under his breath. This way. He yanked her left, toward a narrow path that led into the woods. The rain was heavier here, the trees thick enough to hide them, but only for a moment. Larry's foot caught on a root. She stumbled, fell hard. Jong-ho pulled her up without hesitation. Keep moving. I can't. Yes, you can, he said. Because if they catch you, what happened to Min-jun will look like mercy. Larry's blood went cold. They reached the edge of the cemetery. A chain-link fence, rusted, old, but still too high to climb. Jong-ho pulled out a knife, cut through the links in seconds. Go! Larry squeezed through, her jacket catching, tearing. Jong-ho followed, and the moment they were clear, he grabbed her hand and ran. Behind them, footsteps, voices, a radio crackling. But then, silence. Jong-ho stopped, listened, his hand still gripping his knife. The men weren't following anymore. They'd pulled back. Larry doubled over, gasping for air. Why did they stop? Jong-ho's eyes narrowed. Because they got what they wanted. What? They know where you live. Larry's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like mildew and broken promises. The lock was cheap, the door thinner than it should have been. Jong-ho kicked it open. Wait, Larry started. But it was too late. The door swung wide, revealing chaos. Her furniture was overturned, drawers dumped, couch cushions slashed, every inch of her life torn apart and scattered like trash. Larry's breath caught. No, 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 no. She stumbled inside, her hands shaking as she picked up pieces of her son's life. A broken toy car, a torn drawing, a photo frame with the glass shattered. They were looking for something.
Jong-ho said, scanning the room. "There's nothing here," Lere shouted. "I don't have anything." Jong-ho crouched beside a pile of papers, school reports, doctor's notes, and beneath them, drawings, dozens of them, all done in crayon, all signed with Min-jun's messy handwriting. Jong-ho picked one up, studied it. His expression shifted. "What?" Lere asked. Jong-ho didn't answer. He spread the drawings out on the floor, arranging them in a pattern only he seemed to understand. And then he saw it. A code. Hidden in the shapes, the colors, the way certain lines connected. "Your son was brilliant," Jong-ho said quietly. Lere's voice broke. "What are you talking about?" Jong-ho looked up at her, his eyes dark. Jun didn't just hide the information. He taught Min-jun how to remember it, how to draw it, how to keep it safe without even knowing what it was. Lere felt the world tilt. "No, that's impossible. He was just a baby when I found him." "Children remember more than we think," Jong-ho said. "Especially when someone teaches them." A sound outside. Footsteps on the stairs. Jong-ho was on his feet in an instant. "We're leaving, now!" Lere grabbed the drawings. "I'm not leaving these." "Good," Jong-ho said. "Because they're the only thing keeping you alive." They came through the door like a storm. 3 men, armed, faces hidden behind masks. Jong-ho moved before Lere could scream. He was fast, faster than anyone his size should have been. The first man went down hard, his gun clattering across the floor. The second barely had time to raise his weapon before Jong-ho disarmed him with a single brutal strike. But the third man grabbed Lere. She screamed, twisting, clawing, but his grip was iron. He pressed a knife to her throat. "Enough," the man said. His voice was cold, emotionless. "Or she dies." Jong-ho froze, his eyes locked on the blade, on Lere's terrified face. "Let her go," Jong-ho said quietly. "Drop the gun." Jong-ho didn't move. "I said drop it." Jong-ho's jaw tightened. He lowered his gun, slowly, carefully, and then he threw it, not at the man, at the wall, hard enough that the sound echoed like a gunshot. The man flinched, just for a second, but that was all Jong-ho needed. He closed the distance in 2 steps, grabbed the man's wrist, twisted. The knife fell. Lere stumbled free. Jong-ho didn't stop. He slammed the man against the wall, his forearm pressed against the man's throat. "Who sent you?" Jong-ho demanded. The man laughed. Blood dripped from his mouth. "You already know." Jong-ho's eyes darkened. "Say it." "The Wraith doesn't get to play hero," the man choked out. "You're one of us. You'll always be one of us." Jong-ho's grip tightened. "Not anymore." The man's eyes rolled back. He went limp. Jong-ho let him drop, then turned to Lere. "Are you hurt?" Lere shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "Who are these people?" Jong-ho didn't answer. He pulled a photograph from the unconscious man's pocket. It was a picture of Lere, taken from a distance, dated 3 days ago. "They've been watching you," Jong-ho said. "Why?" "Because they think you're the key," Jong-ho said. "And now they know I won't let them take you." The drawings were spread across the floor of an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. Jong-ho had driven them there in silence, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning every shadow. Now, under the harsh light of a single bulb, he studied the drawings like they were ancient texts. Lere sat beside him, exhausted, terrified, but unable to look away. "What are you seeing?" she asked. Jong-ho pointed to a pattern. This line here, It's not random. It's a map. A map to what? A location, Jong Ho said. Somewhere June hid the evidence. Laray's breath caught. You're saying your son remembered what his father taught him, Jong Ho said gently, even if he didn't understand it. Tears burned Laray's eyes. He used to draw all the time. I thought it was just kid stuff. It was, Jong Ho said, but it was also more. He pulled out his phone, overlaid the drawing with a satellite map, and there it was. A perfect match. An old factory, abandoned for years, on the outskirts of the city. That's where we need to go, Jong Ho said. Laray shook her head. I can't do this. Jong Ho turned to her, his eyes softer than she'd ever seen them. You can, because your son was brave, and so are you. Laray wiped her face. What if we find nothing? Then we keep running, Jong Ho said. But if we find what June hid, we end this, for good. The factory smelled like rust and forgotten dreams. The windows were boarded up, the floors covered in debris. Jong Ho moved first, his gun drawn, his steps silent. Laray followed close behind, clutching the drawings like a lifeline. Stay behind me, Jong Ho whispered. They moved through the darkness, guided only by the faint glow of Jong Ho's flashlight. Every sound felt too loud, every shadow too close. And then they found it. A door, half hidden behind a stack of crates, locked. Jong Ho shot the lock off. The sound echoed like thunder. Inside was a small room, empty except for a single metal box. Jong Ho opened it. Inside were files, USB drives, photographs, everything June had stolen, everything the syndicate had killed for. Laray stared at it, her hands trembling. This is what they wanted. This is what they killed for, Jong Ho corrected. A sound behind them. Footsteps. Voices. They'd been followed. Jong Ho grabbed the box, shoved it into Laray's hands. Go, out the back. Don't stop. What about you? I'll buy you time, Jong Ho said. Go. But before Laray could move, a man stepped into the doorway. Older, gray-haired, familiar. Jong Ho's eyes widened. Uncle Chen. The man smiled. Hello, nephew. Jong Ho's gun didn't waver, but his voice did. You? Chen stepped into the room, hands raised in mock surrender. Surprised? You leaked Laray's identity, Jong Ho said flatly. You told them where to find her. I told them where to find you, Chen corrected. The woman was just bait. Laray's breath caught. You killed my son. Chen's smile faded. No, that was an accident, a miscalculation. The driver was supposed to scare him, not... He paused. I'm not a monster. Yes, you are, Jong Ho said coldly. Chen sighed. You don't understand. Jun stole billions. He betrayed us. He had to be stopped. He wanted out, Jong Ho said. He wanted a life. There is no out, Chen said. You know that better than anyone. Jong Ho's finger tightened on the trigger. Then you should have killed me instead. Chen's eyes darkened. I still can. He moved. Fast. Too fast for a man his age. A knife flashed in his hand, aimed at Jong Ho's throat. But Laray moved faster. She swung the metal box hard, catching Chen across the temple. He staggered, fell. Blood pooled beneath him. Jong Ho stared at her, stunned. You just saved my life. Laray's hands shook. We're even. Chen coughed, blood bubbling from his lips. Jun isn't dead. Jong Ho froze. What? He's alive, Chen whispered. And he's coming for you. The man who walked into the warehouse 3 hours later looked like a ghost, scarred, thin, hollow-eyed, but alive. Jong-ho stood, his gun trained on the man he'd once called brother. "You're supposed to be dead." "I should be," June said quietly. He looked at Larray. "And you're the woman who saved my son." Larray's voice broke. "You're his father?" June nodded. "I placed him behind that market 6 years ago. I knew you worked there, knew you were kind. I watched you for weeks, and when the time came, I trusted you." Larray's knees gave out. Jong-ho caught her. "Why didn't you come back for him?" she whispered. "Because I was being hunted," June said. "If I'd stayed, they would have killed him. But I thought—" His voice cracked. "I thought if I disappeared, he'd be safe." "He wasn't," Larray said bitterly. "They killed him anyway." June's face shattered. "I know, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to make that right." Jong-ho stepped forward. "How?" June pulled out a phone. "I've been gathering evidence for 6 years. Names, locations, crimes, everything the syndicate has done. And now," he looked at the box in Larray's hands, "now I have everything I need to destroy them." A sound outside. Engines. Voices. Dozens of them. June smiled grimly. "They're here." "Then we end this," Jong-ho said. "Together." The showdown happened where it began. Willowbrook Cemetery. The syndicate surrounded them. 50 men. Armed. Ruthless. But Jong-ho, June, and Larray stood together in front of Min Jun's grave. And they didn't run. The syndicate leader stepped forward. "You can't win this." June held up the phone. "I already have. Every file, every crime, every name. I've sent it all to the FBI, to Interpol, to every journalist who'll listen." The leader's face twisted. "You'll die for this." "Probably," June said. "But so will you." Sirens wailed in the distance, helicopters overhead, floodlights. The syndicate scattered. Some fought, some fled, but within minutes it was over. Jong-ho stood beside Larray, watching as Jun was led away in handcuffs, cooperating witness, not prisoner. "What happens now?" Larray asked. "You live," Jong-ho said. "That's what June wanted. That's what Min Jun would have wanted." Larray looked down at the grave. "I don't know how." "You will," Jong-ho said quietly, "and I'll help you." 3 months later, Larray stood at Min Jun's grave. The flowers she brought were fresh this time, bright, alive. Jong-ho stood beside her. No longer the wraith, just a man trying to be better. "I'm okay now," Larray whispered to the stone. "I promise." Jong-ho's hand found hers, gently. "He'd be proud of you." Larray smiled through tears. "I hope so." As they walked away, Jong-ho's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "We know the woman. We know the child. It isn't over." Jong-ho deleted it, pocketed the phone, and kept walking, because some wars never end. But that didn't mean you stopped fighting. If you've ever wondered whether love is stronger than fear, whether one person can change a broken system, then subscribe. Because this story, it's just the beginning.